So now we are moving to the Neoclassical period. So far, if you could remember properly, just for a quick revision, we started the English literature in a systematic manner. Then only we can complete the entire English literature. And to complete the English literature, we have used this technique of following the periods of English literature. So if you go back to the periods of English literature and quickly if you can recapitulate what we have completed so far in the class. If you see, we have completed the Old English literature, we have completed the Middle English literature, and we have already completed the Renaissance or early modern. Under that, we have also completed Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, Caroline age, Commonwealth period or Puritan integral. To start the Neoclassical period, I'll just take 2-3 minutes to explain what actually happened before the Neoclassical period. So 450 to 1066 is known as Old English literature, which is very difficult to understand, which is very difficult to read what actually they wanted to convey to the audience or writers or readers. Okay, and one of the major works of the Old English literature is Beowulf, and author is not known to anybody. And then if you move from Old English literature to the Middle English literature was little easy to understand, or people can read the Middle English literature and they can understand what the writers wanted to convey. And in this Middle English literature, if you understand, there are development of stories, drama, play, and all those things happen in the Middle English literature. And then comes the 1500 to 1660 is a Renaissance, early modern. That means from Old English literature to Middle English literature, they have moved to the early modern. They are not total pure modern, but still they have moved into the early modern age of English literature. That means the people in those eras or people in those days, they were also getting accustomed to the new trends of the lifestyle. And when the Elizabethan age comes, 1558 to 1603, the British people gained a lot of wealth, fame, name, and all those things, and it changed their idea of life. And Elizabethan age is considered to be the golden age in the history of England. And then we have quickly completed the Jacobean age, Caroline age, and the Commonwealth period and Puritan integral. What happened after Elizabeth? There was no heir, so Jacob had become, or the James I had become the king of the England. He was the James VI of the Scotland ruler, and he became the king of the England. After that, in Caroline age, Charles I came, but Charles I was not an able leader, so he was murdered or he was beheaded by the Puritan interregnum or the Commonwealth period's Oliver Cromwell. So what happened? People of these ages, first they liked the Elizabethan age. The Elizabeth was a role model for them, and after that, when the monarchy, then the kings ruled like dictators, the common people were against, and then they plotted or they did conspiracy, and whatever they could do, they made these kings to they dethroned these kings and they made the England Republic, and Oliver Cromwell was become the Lord Protector. But after the death of Oliver Cromwell, what happened? His son came, but his son was not capable, and the people of England wanted again their monarchy, again the kings to come back and rule. So that is what happened at the end of the Puritan interregnum is the Charles II returned to England. He defeated the Oliver Cromwell's son, and he became the king of the England. And the becoming king of the England of Charles II is the beginning of the Neoclassical period. Now, in examination point of view, this Neoclassical period is again divided into 3 phases or 3 stages. 1660 to 1700 is the Restoration period. It is also known as Age of Dryden, and from 1700 to 1745 it is known as Age of Pope or the Age of Augustan age, and 1745 to 1784 is known as Age of Sensibility or Age of Johnson. Now, in our examination in KVS or NVS syllabus, we have to study the Romantic period. But as I told you in the previous class, we should not jump directly from the Elizabethan age to Romantic period. So we have to at least minimum, we need to understand about these ages. Who are the important writers of these ages? What are the greatest literary works produced in those ages? And what are the historical background, literary background, major writers? All those things, at least if we can understand a little, then you will get the continuity of the literature. And if anything comes by chance, if any question comes from Elizabethan age to Romantic period in between, at least you will be in a position to answer those questions without having problem that we didn't study. So that is the reason why in the last class I completed Jacobean age, Caroline age and Commonwealth period and period interregnum in a very simple, precise manner. In the same way, I am going to complete the Neoclassical period, which consists 3 different ages. One is the Restoration age or age of Dryden, or the age of Pope and the Augustan age, and the third one is age of sensibility or age of Johnson. So shall we start the Neoclassical period, Ghoshji?
Yes, sir.
But the same thing again, I am giving you the same information. In your NVS examination, they have given you the Shakespearean works and the Romantic poets. If you want to see the once again the syllabus for your KVS or NVS examination, I'll show you. Here you can see we have completed the Shakespearean works. One second. We have completed the Shakespearean works already, and exactly we have to enter into the Romantic period. We have to study only Shelley, Wordsworth, Keats and Coleridge. But what is the gap between this Elizabethan age to Romantic period? We should have an idea. So that is the reason why I am taking this class also to complete, to build the bridge between the Elizabethan age and Romantic period. So we'll quickly go back. In this class I'll complete these things, and then in the next class we'll start the Romantic period onwards. So Romantic period onwards I'll explain things in a very detailed manner. So let us go with the Neoclassical period.
Sir, before that, may I ask something?
Yes, Diksha.
I guess I have joined the classes from Monday. So, sir, before that or in between these days, did I miss any test, sir?
I don't think so. Whatever the test I have given, I have shared all those things, and yesterday only I have shared two Google Forms. Morning only I shared 2 Google Forms.
So that, sir, I haven't given. That means I missed that. It was a test paper, sir?
Yes, correct. On the
okay.
Jacobean age, Caroline age, Puritan, Commonwealth period.
Okay, sir. Then I will just get the test.
Right.
Okay. Thank you,
sir.
Now go, Ji.
Sir, Shakespeare works means Shakespeare not only has written those dramas, 37 dramas. Shakespeare has written the lengthy poem like Venus and Adonis, Rape of Lucrece, and also 154 sonnets are there. So, do you need to go through at least the summary of those poems or sonnets? Do you need or
not required?
Okay, sir. Okay,
you are
sir.
not writing UGC NET examination. You are not writing a PhD entrance examination. You are writing
yes,
NVS examination, and you are to be selected for the class 12 and class 11 teaching. Okay, so they will not ask you in that, but in the introductory classes I suppose I might have discussed Shakespearean. When we discuss Shakespeare, we might have discussed the Shakespearean number of plays, ages, stages, number of sonnets dedicated to whom. All those things are discussed. That information is important examination point of view. They will not ask you the name of the sonnet, and they will not ask you the summary of the sonnet. Okay, Ghoshji?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Right. So let us start the Neoclassical period. So as I told you, I will not explain in elaborative manner, just only important information, and that too bits and pieces of information. So the Restoration age is also known as the age of Dryden. Just let me come back once again so that the continuity will not be missed. We completed, because these are like interlinked. If you missed what is the previous age, then it will be difficult for you to understand. So let me just ask you quickly so that you will also get used, because when Diksha's batch was there, I used to trouble them like anything. Until they tell me the ages and periods correctly, I never started the class. So I troubled them a lot. I don't want to again do the same thing. This one, what I am trying to say, we have completed the Renaissance and early modern, and now we are moving into the Neoclassical period. So according to one reading, we have moved from Old English literature to Middle English literature, Middle English literature to early modern to Neoclassical period. So we have completed 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one we are moving. These are the sub stages. Again, this Renaissance is divided into Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, Caroline and Commonwealth period for our understanding. So now we have started the Neoclassical period. Now under this Neoclassical period, the first period is the Restoration or age of Dryden. Why this is known as Restoration? When Charles II came, he ended the Puritan interregnum. We discussed already the Puritan interregnum or the Commonwealth period was very severe, or very serious in nature. They have banned the theatres. They were very strict, and they wanted to purify the Roman church. So people were very unhappy with such kind of a system, and they want their kings to return and they want to enjoy their life. So that was the idea why they have welcomed the Charles II to return to England and to defeat the Lord Protectors and to end the Commonwealth period or the Puritan interagram. So that is the beginning of the Restoration or the age of Dryden, and this entire period, which is divided into 3 periods, is known as the Neoclassical period. Okay, so it is not a classical period, it is the Neoclassical period. So 1660 to 1700 is known as the Restoration or the age of Dryden. Why it is restoration? Because they are restoring the old values, they are restoring the monarchy. So that is why it has been named as the Restoration. Why it is also called as age of Dryden? Because Dryden is a prominent figure or literary figure in that age. So Dryden was a representative writer of this period. So they will ask you a question, Dryden comes into which age? They will give you Elizabethan age, they'll give you Restoration age, they'll give you age of Johnson, they'll give you intellectual age. So you need to identify the age of Dryden means Restoration age. Dryden comes in the Restoration age, and the Restoration age or period comes under the Neoclassical period. The restoration of King Charles II in 1660 marks the beginning of a new era both in the life and literature of England. See, I don't want to enter into elaborate discussion, but I'll tell you one thing. When people were not happy with the monarchy, they ended the monarchy, they supported the Republican, they supported the people like Lord Protector to make the country ruled by the common people or from the parliament. But they were not happy because those people who came into the power, they were very strict and they were not allowing any kind of entertainment, and their values are very severe in nature and they wanted to purify. So people of England were not happy with this kind of system. They wanted to go back to the olden days. So that is the reason why they welcomed the Charles II in 1660, and that is the beginning of the Restoration. So now Charles II, when he came, he started restoring so many old values, old traditions. And one more thing we have to understand in this, remember in this age, is the Great Fire which happened in 1665 and the plague which took place in the Restoration period. And in the Restoration period, the theatres were opened. Theatres were closed by the Oliver Cromwell or in the Puritan interagram or the Commonwealth period. They found that the theatres were causing the moral depravity or the moral degradation of the people, because the stage was being used by so many people for so many things and they were attracting the masses, and the chief method was to just entertain the masses. So they banned the theatre. But when Charles II came, he reopened the theatre and they established the Royal Society, which was a landmark in the history of England. So Royal Society is related to the science. And then there were two different groups of people who were supporters of king and who were supporters of parliament. Now, who are those people who are supporters of parliament? They are called Whigs. So the Whigs sought to limit the powers in the interest of the people and the parliament. The Tories supported the divine right theory of the king and strove to restrain the powers of the people in the interest of the hereditary rulers. So Tories were the supporters of the monarchy and Whigs were the supporters of the parliament. So there was always clashes between these two groups. And Charles II, he believed that the kings were the direct descendants of God. So kings were not accountable or responsible to the common people. They are only accountable and answerable to the God. So this kind of situation again returned into the England. And then James II, after Charles II died, James II ascended the throne in 1685. He became unpopular within 3 years and the whole nation rose against him. The bloodless revolution of 1688 called the Protestant William and Mary of Orange to the throne. So this James II was a Catholic and he wanted to restore the Catholicism, and he was not, simple words if I want to use, that he was not an able ruler. So the Protestants revolted and Protestant William and Mary of Orange, they become the king and queen of the England. So that is the end of the Charles II. Then what are the historical background or what actually happened during that age? Why people hated or people were not happy with the monarchy? They only invited the kings back to rule them, but what happened in that period? Let us understand. The spirit of corruption and moral laxity which were predominant in the social life of restoration are reflected in the literature. So whatever is the thought of the people of that age reflects in the literature. Yesterday we discussed that whatever the movies we are watching is actually the reflection of the mindset of the people in the society. How do the producers, how do the directors dare to produce such kind of movies? Because they know that the people who want to watch these movies are many in number. If you produce an art film, that will definitely become a super flop. But if anybody produces a movie with some kind of a vulgarity, with some kind of intimating scenes, and if there is a boy meets love with 6 songs and 6 fights, people like that movie to watch. And if there is good kind of entertainment, whatever the entertainment people like, so they know the pulse of the audience and they produce the movies according to the taste of the audience. Now in the same way, during that age, the corruption and moral laxity which were predominant in the social life of restoration reflected in the literature. Literature is just the reflection of the people of that particular age. And the rise of neoclassicism, imitation of ancient masters. So now these people, they wanted to go back and they wanted to follow the people who wrote the plays and all those things in the olden days, ancient masters, and they took the Latin writers for guidance and inspiration. And when the Charles II he returned from France, he had brought even the French influence also. So these people during the Neoclassical period, they imitated the French masters. And then realism and formalism, restoration literature is realistic. So restoration literature is very realistic in nature. It is also considered little vulgar. We'll discuss those things later. It was very much concerned with the life of London and with the details of dress, fashions and manners. The early restoration writers, observes W.J. Wrong, sought to paint realist pictures of corrupt court and society and emphasized vices rather than virtues and gave us a court's low place without interest or moral significance. If you see Shakespeare, you feel thrilled to watch Shakespearean plays on stage. But when these people wrote or performed plays even after even during the restoration period, what they were trying, came out of the imagination. They started projecting things which are happening in the real society. So that is the reason why the plays were not very much interesting and they don't have any kind of moral significance. After Shakespeare, very hard to find that kind of a playwright until the novel enters into the picture. Then the poetry of restoration age, if you see, the poetry of restoration period is very formal, intellectual and realistic. Now the poetry started taking the advantage of the restoration period, and the poets, they try to picture the intellectual aspect and the realistic aspect of the poetry. But the poetry is used in the perfect manner only during the romantic period. Now let us go to the next slide. Now as I told you, this restoration period is also known as Age of Dryden. We have to study about John Dryden. So who is this John Dryden? Dryden was the first of the new, as Milton was the last of the former school of poetry. He was a versatile poet, and his writings were Absalom and Achitophel is a fine, finished satire on contemporary political situation, and Medal is an attack on Shaftesbury. McFlockley is a biting attack on the former friend Thomas Sevdell, and Religio Less Lucky and the Hind and the Panther are the two doctrinal poems. Dryden appears as a great storyteller in the verse in the fables. So John Dryden is a very famous writer in the Neoclassical period or in the Restoration period, and his notable writings are as Absalom and Achitophel, Medal, McFlanco and Religio Lucky and the Hind and the Panther. And as a lyric poet, his fame rests on the song for St. Cecilia's Day and Alexander's Feast. Dryden is a representative poet of his age. He began the Neoclassical age in literature. It was his influence and example which lifted the classic couplet for many years as the accepted measure of serious English poetry. Before the Romantic poets came, the poetry was not taken as serious as the play and remaining literary forms. But Dryden wanted to make the poetry also equally important. Now, Dryden was the one who started this kind of try to find what actually the poets wrote in French and Latin. Now, let us go to the next one. There are few more important writers in the Restoration period or Age of Dryden, or contemporaries of Age of Dryden were Samuel Butler. So Butler's Hudibras, you remember this one, his work of art. Butler's Hudibras is a pointed satire on Puritans. It was influenced by the satires of Rabelais and Cervantes. It has genuine flashes of comic insight. It is a great piece of satirical poetry and it stands next to Dryden's Absalom and Achitophel. Butler is remarkable figure in the poetic development of the Restoration period. So Samuel Butler is a contemporary writer of John Dryden. And then if you see the prose of Restoration age, John Dryden is also a prose writer. He is a multi-talented, as we already discussed. John Dryden was one of the greatest prose writers of this period. His prefaces and his famous essay on dramatic poetry make him the leader of that modern prose in which the style is easy, unaffected, molded to the subject, and which proper words are placed in the proper places. So John Dryden is very famous writer, not only a poet, he is also a prose writer. And one more, John Bunyan wrote 2 prose allegories, Grace Abounding, the Pilgrim's Process. Remember, this is a very important piece of information. The Pilgrim Process is written by John Bunyan, and the Life and Death of Mr. Badman. Bunyan is called the pioneer of English novel. The Pilgrim's Process is remarkable for impressive characters, presentation of contemporary life, and dramatic interest. Bunyan's style is simple, clear, lucid, biblical, and colloquial. So the question comes in examination is, who is the contemporary of Dryden? So the contemporary writers of Dryden so far we discussed are Samuel Butler and John Bunyan. Then we have few diaries also there, which are very important in examination point of view. The diaries of the period are important in terms of style and new form. There are 2 diaries who need to be introduced. There are 2 diaries. The diary of Sir John Pepys, I suppose his pronunciation is correct. The diary of the Sir John Pepys, which is related to the Restoration period, and it is in between 1633 to 1703, is remarkable for the unaffected naturalness of style and narrative skill. As a historical document, it provides an interesting view of the life of Restoration and how people were living, how they were morally degraded, how they were spoilt. Those things were written by Sir John Pepys, and the name is the diary of the Sir John Pepys. And then we have one more important diary, John Elwyn's diary, was written with an eye on the public. It is a more finished production in the manner of style. Other writers who deserve mention are Lord Halifax, Sir William Temple, Thomas Hobbes, and Sir John Locke. So these were the writers who are contemporary to contemporary to Dryden. And then we have 3 important writers of the comedy of manners. It's a kind of like an obscene or vulgar comedy. William Congreve, George Etheridge, and George Farragut. These are the questions, important pieces of information which you will get in examinations straight. Direct questions will come. Who is not the writer of comedy of manners? So they will give you one more person and you need to find out who is the writer who is not associated with the comedy of manners. So we have completed this one period under Neoclassical period, that is the Restoration period. It is also known as Age of Dryden. Why it is known as Restoration period is the Charles II, when he returned to England, he restored the old beliefs, old values, and Dryden is the very prominent figure, literary figure in that age. So that is the reason why this age is known as this period is also known as the Age of Dryden, and it is also known as the Restoration period. So before I move to the age of intellectuality or the age of enlightenment or reason, age of reason, if you have any questions with this particular part, you can ask me. Goji?
Sir, restoration means Charles II restored the earlier custom that you told.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
The word restoration means what? Restoring the old values or restoring the old system of monarchy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Venkateshwar sir?
Sir, yes, sir.
Any questions, Venkateshwar sir?
No, sir.
Diksha?
Sir, you said that in this period, when the authors or the writers, they just came out from their imagination and they start putting the logical reasoning in everything. Is that the theme of this period? Means previously all the poets and writers, they used to write through their imagination. So this part actually I didn't understand,
Right.
and I
I'll explain.
might be
I'll
confused.
explain. How could Shakespeare have that much great imaginary power? Because in his age, there are so many things happen which will expand or which made him to expand his wings of imagination. That means whatever is happening around us will help us to even imagine. For example, when we dream, even our dreams are also have limitations. We can't dream like an American, or we can't dream like an African. We dream like an Indian only, Diksha. Did you understand the analogy I am giving?
Yes, sir.
Being an Indian, what would be our maximum dream? Can you tell me maximum what would be our dream? Being an Indian, Diksha.
So in what context? Means in career or
Whatever.
what dream?
Whatever the dream you have, whatever the dreams Indians have, what could be the highest form of dream?
So to become means to become free, to become independent at early age, and to live your life without any restriction. I think so. This is the highest dream of any Indian
Okay,
person.
good. You actually what do you call what should I say? You have crossed the Indian mindset. That's why you are thinking in that fashion. But most of
Yes.
the Indians, their biggest dream for an educated person is to become an IAS officer or IPS officer, because that is the maximum thing they can achieve in their life. Diksha.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or to earn money, lots and lots of money, and to purchase expensive cars and to live in big bungalows is another type of dream for Indian, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or to become a politician and to become the Prime Minister of India is another type of dream, correct?
Bilkul. Yes, sir.
Any other dream Indians have beyond these things?
To get settled in America.
Right. Now, what about those people who are living in developed nation? What do they dream? How do they dream? And what actually they dream?
So they dream of. I think they dream about a peaceful life. I guess for them, that is their big dream only.
What about Ghoshji?
Sir, Indians highest dream as you are talking about.
No, what the developed country people, what do they do? What do they dream about?
Listen, actually, sir, developed country maybe, or the country like ours, country like India also. I think the people are having their highest dream. They might be that they will achieve. They must have a lot of money in their hands, and also whatever they wish they will do with the help of that money. Actually, I think that is the main dream of theirs, sir. I think so.
Developed people already have a lot of money in their life. Then why do they dream for having more money?
If they are having so much money, so I think they will have their dream to go to the other planet also.
Okay, right. That is accepted. Any
As
other
you know,
dream? Any other dream? See, let Venkateshwar sir also say. Venkateshwar sir, express your opinion.
Sir, in my opinion, most of them they would like to travel around the world. They want to explore more things, and some a bit of what to help poor people also. They'll adapt some African countries or Indians or some other poor countries. People are so many there. Still, they are struggling for food. For they can help them and they roam around the world. If they are super billionaires, they can try to go in space also using SpaceX.
Right. So with money, we can achieve all those things. But beyond that money, with these are all materialistic things, materialistic dreams. What actually Diksha said is, with all this development and with all this money and wealth, they actually wanted a free life without any kind of physical, psychological, moral, religious restrictions.
So
That is the highest form of dream anybody can dream, but we can't dream like them.
sir, can't hear. Please repeat again once again.
What to repeat, the Goji?
Highest dream that you
Alright.
told last time.
The highest dream is to become free physically, mentally, emotionally, religious, and even psychologically. Free bird. They want to live their life according to their will and wish.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But for us, we Indians, we don't appreciate such kind of thought, correct? Because ours
Yes, sir.
is a what kind of society? Conservative.
So we are surrounded, conservative you may say, and we are surrounded with, sir, we all want only materialistic happiness and requirement. Our limit is till that if we have materials, then only we will be happy.
Right. Come back to the story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am also agree with Diksha ma'am. Actually, if you don't have the money, then how we can free ourselves? How we can have the peace? Actually, peace of mind.
Let us come back because I have to complete one more thing. I am just trying to link why what Diksha asked. I just want to explain. That's why we are not going to what do you call lengthy discussions here.
Yes,
So
yes.
when we don't have money, we'll dream of money. When we don't have luxury life, we dream of luxury life. But when you get everything, because in Elizabethan period, people amassed wealth. That was a golden period. So when you have everything in your life, then you will think about what is next, what is next, what is beyond this. So those people have imagination. Those people use their intellectual abilities, and all those things reflected in their poetry, Diksha. Understood, Diksha?
Okay, sir. That means I just wanted to know that when this, so before neoclassical period, we learned we did restoration age. So in that age, those who were the readers, did they like this new logical work, or they were satisfied with the previous work like Shakespeare's art and Shakespeare's work? I have the confusion there, sir.
The age of reason has not yet started. In the restoration period, what happened? People wanted to restore the old system, and they believed that when the old system like monarchy comes into power, they would enjoy their life. But when monarchy came, King Charles II came. He is a corrupt person. He is a morally corrupt person. So he allowed people to enjoy to the fullest. No morals, nothing. But because of those things, the society's values had fallen down. It is not about the only money. It is about there are so many values and so many moralities will be there which will keep up the society. Money doesn't give the only one thing. It doesn't only support. So what actually I am trying to tell you, the connecting link, I am trying to answer to your question, Diksha, without wasting much time. During Elizabethan period, the way of thinking, the perception of human, and the exposure or whatever they have achieved in that period made them to think beyond what others can think. But when the Elizabethan period ended, when Jacobean, Cavalier and Puritan diagram, people were suppressed. People were having a lot of internal conflicts in the kingdom, so they can't see things which they can't, which before what they can see. Whatever is happening in their life surrounded by them, they were immersed in those topics only. So in the restoration period also, they were not thinking about the reason, logic, and all those things that comes in the next stage. So they were not happy with the kind of literature or kind of incidents or events are happening in the restoration period. That's why there is a shift from the restoration period or age of Dryden to the age of enlightenment. People want that kind of enlightenment in the next stage after the restoration period. Diksha.
Yes, sir. Now I understood, sir.
So Goji,
Yes, sir.
I don't what I'm trying to why I cut you know, because if we go in that way of discussion, it will divert the entire topic. It will be maybe helpful for us to understand what we are really, what our limitations in life, but that will not come in examination. So that's why I'm cutting. Otherwise we discussed in an elaborative manner in the batch 1. But to tell you, because I don't want to leave this class without answering to your question, गोजी मेरा आवाज आ रही ठीक से आपको?
I can hear, sir, clearly.
For most of the Indians, for us, having a big bungalow, big car, some big balance in the bank, and some respect in the society, enough. But people who are in the developed nations are people who are wealthy, people who are more powerful, are people who have achieved all those things which you are dreaming to achieve. They want complete freedom. What freedom? Not in this physical world, even in the psychological world. We are all chained by our religious beliefs. We are all chained by our societal beliefs. We are actually locked inside a cage which is invisible to others. So people who are having the highest level of dream, they dream to live a free life, and that is very objectionable for people like you and me. Goji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Developed countries need that kind of freedom. Yes.
Because their dream and our dream doesn't match, don't match. So their level of dream and our level of dream is actually very different. So developed countries or developed people doesn't mean that they are having only money. They have the higher quality of thoughts. That's what make them different from us. I am not degrading Indians. Whatever I am telling is in a practical way. Right? Please don't take me wrong, and will not go into this kind of discussion. Shall we continue with the next set of information, Diksha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Right. So now after Restoration period, the next age is the age of enlightenment or age of reason. It started in the 1700 to ended in the 1798, and it is in the 18th century. The age of enlightenment was a philosophical movement that dominated the world of ideas in Europe in the 18th century, centered on the idea that reason is the primary source of authority and legitimacy. So these people, they believed that humans, we should apply logic and reasoning, and based upon the reasoning only we have to live. Whereas in the Romantic period, they again came back to the senses. It is not correct to view always reason in some aspects, so let us go back to the senses. So that's why Romantic period poetry is very very delightful. But in this age of reason, the reason is the primary source of authority and legitimacy. This movement advocated such ideals as liberty, progress, tolerance, fraternity, constitutional government, and separation of church and the state. So separation of church and the state idea began in this age of enlightenment. Otherwise the church was ruling the state. State was under the domination of the church. Science came to play a leading role in the Enlightenment discourse and thought. So what is this Enlightenment? The Enlightenment has long been hailed as a foundation of modern Western political and intellectual culture. It brought political modernization to the West. In religion, Enlightenment era commentary was a response to the preceding century of religious conflict in Europe. It was a period of wisdom and scientific thought. The ability to think and reason was given importance. So in this age of reason, they don't want to live like the Restoration period. So they applied their logic and reason, and they thought a lot, and they try to find out what is right and what is wrong. So that is why this era is known as this period is known as age of reason, and that brought enlightenment. What kind of enlightenment? Let us understand before going into the picture. We will understand the examination point of view. This age of reason divided into two halves. 1700 to 1798 is the period, and from 1700 to 1745 is known as age of Pope. It is also known as the Augustan age, or it is also known as the Neoclassical age. So what they did is the revival of a classical style or treatment in art, literature, architecture, or music. The earlier part of the 18th century, or the Augustan age in English literature, is also called age of Pope, because Pope was a dominating figure in that period. So this period is divided into age of Pope, the Augustan age, the Neoclassical age, and the age of sensibility, which is also known as the age of Johnson, the age of transition, or it is also known as the age of pre-romantic age. So what did they do in the age of Pope? The English writers of this age imitated the classical Roman writers who were writing during the reign of King Augustus. So they took the basis for their literature is the classical Roman writers. How did they write? They try to follow that one. And in this age, the very famous and popular writers like Pope, we had written the age Rape of the Lock. And the second age is 1745 to 1798 is age of sensibility. It is also known as age of Johnson, or it is also known as the age of transition. They are shifting from the logic and reasoning to the senses, and the Romantic period. And it is also known as the age of pre-romantic period. It is a gap or a bridge between the Romantic period and the previous period. This period was affected by the French Revolution, which happened in 1789, the American Revolution, and the Industrial Revolution. Now, what is the historical background of this particular age? It the rise of two political parties that we already discussed, Whigs and Tories. The political acts in 1707, there was an act of union in which the Scotland merged with England and became Great Britain. So before that, Scotland was a different country and England was a different country, but in the act of 1700, in the act of union 1707, that became the Great Britain. And then came the Licensing Act 1737. The Licensing Act was passed to censor and control theatre. The reason was that the theatre has become so obscene and vulgar, they were staging whatnot on the stage. So that's why they have passed this 1737 Licensing Act, and because of this, the novel came into the picture. And in 1798, Ireland was included in the Great Britain. So there are three countries: Scotland, England and Ireland becomes Great Britain. And during that age, the scientific revolutions took place. Isaac Newton discovered the gravity, Galileo discovered the solar system, Kepler discovered something, Copernicus said something which has a path breaking, and then John Locke. So because of the scientific revolutions, what happened? There is a change in their religious views. So what is this religious views? A set of beliefs, we have to follow. I don't want to go deep into the topic. Religion is a set of values, a set of beliefs, a set of rules and regulations that will enforce on the people so that the society will live in harmony. That was actually the original idea of a religion. So the religious values like God created the world, earth is the center of the universe, all those things are religious views. But when Copernicus revealed that sun is in the center of the universe, made people of the age to challenge the views and authority of the church. Till that time, church was dominating. Whatever was written in the Bible, people believed that, and people never questioned the authority of the church, because they were never given any kind of a proof that the Bible was, or the content of the Bible is wrong. So when Copernicus revealed, because Bible says that, if you are anybody's Christian, sorry to say, if the Bible believes or Bible preaches, the Bible says that God created this entire world in 6 days and he was tired, so that's why he took rest on 7th day. But when you read the science, you will come to know that it is not the God who created sitting somewhere somebody, and it is the Big Bang theory. It's a debatable topic. I don't want to go back into our religious views, but what it brought, these kind of revolutions or revelations brought the belief system big damage. People stopped believing in magic, supernatural forces due to discoveries of the law of nature by Newton. There are so many Babas in India, nowhere you will find those many Babas in this world, and they can easily fool people because we are all having this kind of beliefs. We believe somebody creates some Shivlinga from out of the thin air. We believe if somebody brings Vibhuti from thin air. All these things we believe, and because we believe in miracles and we believe in supernatural forces. So when these scientific revolutions came out, it challenged the authority of the religious beliefs, and it further challenged the church, and that was the reason why people were against the church. People believed in deism. God does not interfere in the matters of human beings. God is a watcher, not doer. We don't want to go into the debates here whether it is right or wrong. Now let us quickly go with the literary features of this particular age. What is the age which we are discussing now? The age of reason, or the age of enlightenment. Diksha, can you please read quickly?
Yes, sir. So the screen which you are showing.
Yes, correct.
Literary features of Neoclassical period. Importance given to prose, age of prose and reason. Second point, rise of novel, results of Licensing Act of 1737. The Licensing Act of 1737 is a defunct act of parliament in the Kingdom of Great Britain and a pivotal moment in theatrical history. Its purpose was to control and censor what was being said about the British government through theatre. Third, political writing became very popular. Fourth, clubs and coffee houses. Political clubs and coffee houses became a great part of social life.
Important political clubs, coffee houses were.
Scriblerus, I'm not able to pronounce it, sir. Club and Kit Kat Club. Then periodical writing, journals, examiner, Tatler, Statler, okay, Spectator, Guardian, and Rambler. Jonathan Swift, Richard Steele, Joseph Edison, and Samuel Johnson. They were the main means writer or poets of that time. Writers. Satires. These writers used to attack on human vices and follies.
Enough. So Pope also is satiric writer. He attacked the society and he had mocked which epic? He had written one epic, correct? Mock epic. What is the name of the mock epic? The Rape of the Law.
Alexander Pope.
The Rape of the Law. Right?
Yes.
So now let us go and discuss the major writers of this period. We have Alexander Pope, that is why it is known as the age of Pope also, and he has used the heroic couplets. In Hindi it is called Duha. Extensive use of heroic couplets by Alexander Pope. He had written many important work of arts. One is Rape of the Lock, the Dunciad, Epistle to Dr. Arbuthnot, and Essay on Criticism, and Essay on Man. These are examination point of view very, very important pieces of information. And we have one more writer, Jonathan Swift, and he is a prose writer and a satirist. He had written The Battle of the Books, The Tale of a Tub, Gulliver's Travel, and A Modest Proposal. And then we have Daniel Defoe, Fiction and Political Pamphlets, The Shortest Way with the Dissenters, and The Robinson Crusoe, which is a very, very important novel, and Moll Flanders and Roxana. Samuel Johnson had written The London, The Vanity of Human Wishes, Rasselas. To meet the expenses of his mother's funeral, he had written the Rasselas, and he has the greatest contribution in English literature or English world is the Dictionary of English Language, and he had written the Lives of Popes. And then we have Samuel Richardson. He had written novel. He's a novelist. He had written Pamela, and the subtitle of the novel Pamela is Virtue Rewarded. And the storyline you can read afterwards. I don't want to go into the storyline. And then we have Henry Findling, who is a novelist. He had written Tom Jones and Joseph Andrews. And we have Oliver Goldsmith in this neoclassical period, or the age of enlightenment. He's a transitional poet, and he had written The Traveller, The Deserted Village, and he had written the play She Stoops to Conquer. And Thomas Gray is a traditional poet, and his famous elegy written in a country chit-chat. Now this slide is the last slide. We'll complete this class and then we'll go to the general studies. Ashwat sir is waiting. Now, as I told you, it is a pre-romantic period also. William Blake is not a purely romantic poet. He is a pre-romantic poet because he had laid the foundation for the romantic period. French Revolution is a turning point in the history of literature, and that is the one which changed the perception, the idea, thought process of the people. Now we will not go into that topic. We'll just complete this slide and we'll complete this class. So William Blake is one of the important writers in the age of reason or the Enlightenment age, and he is known as the pre-romantic poet. Remember, William Blake is not a romantic poet. He is a pre-romantic poet. He paved ways for the romantic poets, and his notable contribution to the English literature is Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience, Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Vision of Daughters of Albion. Milton, he had written a poem in 2 books, and Auguries of Innocence. So with this we have completed the neoclassical period, which was further divided into 2 periods. The first one is from 1660 to 1700, is known as the Restoration period or the age of Dryden. The Restoration period means Charles II, when he returned to England, he again restored the old values in the English world, and because of that, what happened, people were not happy of the moral degradity of the society, and they wanted the things to be changed. And after this they came the age of enlightenment or age of reason. So they wanted to apply their logic and reasoning, and they wanted to come to a conclusion that what is right and what is wrong to the society. So think and reason are given the most importance in the age of enlightenment or age of reason. And then this age is divided into 2 halves. One is 1700 to 1745 is known as age of Pope or the Augustan age or the neoclassical age, and from 1745 to 1798 is known as age of sensibility or age of Johnson or the age of transition. They are shifting in this age from the old values to the modern values or the new values because of the French Revolution, and it is also known as the age of pre-romantic age. And one of the most important incidents happened in this age is 1798 French Revolution. French Revolution is the game changer. It had made people to realize how important it is for the republic and the democracy. So French Revolution begins the Romantic period or Romantic poetry. Now these are the literary features of the Neoclassical period, and the major writers are Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, Daniel Defoe, Samuel Johnson, Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, Oliver Goldsmith, Thomas Gray. And with William Blake, this period is going to complete, and he is also known as pre-romantic poet. And his famous work of arts are the Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience, Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Vision of Daughters of Albion, Milton, Agrees of Innocence. So next class onwards, we will start the exact content of your NVS or KVS English syllabus, and that is Romantic period. So next class we'll start the Romantic period. If you have any questions, you can ask me now.